am Swati Pillai and I am Mrs. Usha Raghavan student at Kalasagra. I am happy to be a part of Our Country, Our Heroes, Our Pride initiative. I grew up in Tamil Nadu and I would like to share the story of an unsung national hero, Mr. V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. Some of you may already have heard his name, and he's also popularly known as Kappalotiya Tamiran, which in English translates to the Tamil Hemsman. He was the one who set up the first indigenous shipping service between Tuticorin and Colombo. Let's look at the life and the contributions of Mr. V.O. Chidambaram Pillai to the Indian freedom movement. V.O. Chidambaram Pillai was born on 5th September 1872 in Ottapidiram, Tuticorin district, to Olaganathan Pillai and Paramayi Ammal. He was enrolled in schools in his native and went on to become a lawyer just like his father. His father was his biggest inspiration in the profession of law, but there was a basic difference in their working styles. While his father catered to the problems of only the affluent in the society, VOC was sympathetic towards the poor people whose cases he took up against the wishes of his influential father. This demonstrates that he was a sympathetic person and wanted to uphold his principles. His foray into the political career took place when he was influenced by Tilak Maharaj and became his disciple. Along with Subramanya Shiva and Subramanya Bharati, he became a prominent spokesperson for the cause in Madras presidency. Many of you would have heard the name of Bharatiyar and may also be familiar with his revolutionary poems. VOC and Bharatiyar shared similar political ideologies, and both of them were strong supporters of the Swadeshi movement. VOC actively encouraged people to buy products from Indian industries to support the nation. He entered into active politics in the year 1905 by becoming a member of the Indian National Congress. Kappalotiya Tamiran was how V.O. Chidambaram Pillai was popularly known. This was because of the shipping industry he established in Tuticorin. Why did he have to go and establish a shipping industry when he was a lawyer? This was because he wanted to break the monopoly the British India Steam Navigation Company had in trade. VOC registered the Swadeshi Shipping Company in October 1906. The capital of the company was 10 lakh rupees. In the beginning, the company didn't own any ships and the ships were being leased. But the lease got cancelled because of the pressure from British. So VOC realized that he had to own his own vessels. He traveled around India selling shares in the company to raise the capital. He vowed, "I will come back with ships, otherwise I will perish in the sea." He managed to secure sufficient funds and purchased his first ship, SS Galia, and then SS Lavo. V.O. Chidambaram Pillai aimed at expanding the reach of Swadeshi movement in the country and equal rights for Indian people. It is for this cause he gave a speech at Toothukudi encouraging the workers at Coral Mill to protest against their low wages and harsh working conditions in 1908. 4 days later, the workers of the Coral Mill went on strike. Chidambaram and Subramanya Shiva led the strike. Their demands included incremental earnings, weekly holidays, and other leave facilities. Chidambaram ensured the strike was widely publicized and it quickly gained popular support. The British authorities had already taken a disliking towards Pillai, and this act compelled them to arrest him on March 12, 1908, on charges of sedition against the government. Violence erupted in the state after the arrest of VOC. Clashes between police and his supporters became widespread. Though his actions were vehemently condemned by British authorities, VOC got the support of the press in the country, which praised his nationalistic spirit. After his arrest, he was housed at the Central Prison in Coimbatore from July 9, 1908 to December 1, 1910. The British had slapped a sentence of life imprisonment on VOC, clearly indicating that they were afraid of his rebellious spirit. During his days in prison, V.O. Chidambaram Pillai did not receive treatment shown to other political prisoners. Rather, he was made to engage in hard labor in prisons like other convicts. The hard work took a toll on his health, and the gradual deterioration of his condition forced the British authorities to release him on December 12, 1912. While in prison, VOC continued the Swadeshi activities. When V.O. Chidambaram Pillai was released from prison, instead of a large gathering of supporters, which he had expected in front of the jail gates, there was an eerie silence. The title of barrister was taken away from him, so he was unable to practice law anymore. He petitioned the court against this, seeking permission. His steam navigation company was also liquidated and he was left a poor man. In 1936, he breathed his last at the Indian National Congress office in Tuticorin. Posthumously, Chidambaram is known by the titles Kappalotiya Tamiran and Chekkirutha Chemmal. The Tuticorin port was renamed as VOC Port after independence. A special postage stamp was released by the Indian Post and Telegraph Department to mark the birth centenary of V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. VOC tried to promote the Swadeshi spirit among the people and inspired his country to stand up for their rights. Let's never forget this brave hero and the sacrifices and contributions he's made for our country's freedom. Thank you.
बूंदे ले हर बोलों के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी Namaskar. Welcome to this episode of Our Country, Our Heroes, Our Pride. Today we speak about Rani Lakshmibai, the Rani of Jhansi, who was the first woman warrior in Indian history to bravely lead a war against the British. She gave her life in the struggle for Swaraj and the freedom of India from British domination. Rani Lakshmibai is a shining example of patriotism and pride in one's country. Born on 19 November 1828 in Kashi to a Brahmin family, she was named Manikarnika Tambe. Her parents came from Maharashtra. Sadly, her mother died when she was 4 years old. She was educated at home, was taught to read and write. From her childhood days, Manikarnika got all the teaching in martial arts, fencing, horse riding, and shooting. She learned these skills in her childhood, playing with Rao Sahib, Nana Sahib, and Tantia Tope, who were also important names in India's freedom struggle. Rani Lakshmibai had a few favorite horses, Sarangi, Pavan, and Badal, as she was good at horse riding. In 1842, at the age of 14, she was married to the Emperor of Jhansi and was given the name of Lakshmi Bai in honor of the Hindu goddess Devi Lakshmi, and as per Maratha's customs and traditions, Bai meant queen. She gave birth to a son in the year 1851, whose name was Damodar Rao. Unfortunately, the child died within 4 months of this birth because of a chronic illness. And soon after they adopted another son, the Maharaja of Jhansi too passed away. The British East India Company under Governor General Lord Dalhousie introduced the rule of doctrine of lapse. They ordered that if any princely state which comes directly or indirectly under the rule of the company, and that the ruler of the state dies without a male legal heir, that is when the East India Company has the right to take control over the state. In March 1854, Rani Lakshmibai was given an annual pension of 60,000 rupees and ordered to leave the palace and the fort. Lakshmibai was displeased by this unfairness. Her pleas of "मैं अपनी झांसी नहीं दूंगी," meaning "I will not surrender my Jhansi," proved futile. After the petitions went unaccepted by the British government or the East India Company, war broke out known as the Mutiny of 1857 or the First War of Independence. 29 years of age, the Queen of Jhansi fought with impeccable valor and courage, single-handedly fighting with the British army till one of the English horsemen struck her on the head. Despite being heavily injured, she continued the fight bravely and killed the horseman. She fell from the horse, her son still strapped on her back, and collapsed on the ground. Rani Lakshmibai will always be remembered amongst the bravest fighters in Indian history. In the British report of this battle, a senior British officer Hugh Rose commented that Rani Lakshmibai was personable, clever, and beautiful, and she was the most dangerous of all Indian leaders. Till date, she continues to be a source of inspiration and admiration. Her name will forever be imprinted in golden letters in India's history and in the hearts of all Indians. Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Namaste. As we celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th year of Indian independence, we take a moment to remember the lives of those great leaders who sacrificed everything, and in some cases, their lives to achieve the freedom that we enjoy. I would like to present the life of Sri Tanguturi Prakasham, also known as Andhra Kesari. It was the year 1928, and the British government appointed the Simon Commission to report on India's constitutional progress and for introducing constitutional reforms. The commission was strongly opposed by many Indians, as the commission had no Indian representation. Despite the ban on protests in sensitive areas like Madras, a large crowd gathered near Madras High Court. A young man died when police opened the fire to disperse the crowd. The police ordered the crowd not to approach the body of the young man. At this point, Tanguturi Prakasham stepped in front of the police, baring his chest, challenging them to shoot at him if they dare. This act of bravery has earned him the title Andhra Kesari, the Lion of Andhra. Sri Tanguturi Prakasham was born in Vinodarayanipalem, a village in the present Prakasham district, in 1872. He completed schooling in Ongole, during which he had a strong interest in theatre. This interest was shared by his teacher, Sri Hanumanta Naidu, who was instrumental in promoting his studies and career in law. Sri Hanumanta Naidu has financially supported young Prakasham by borrowing money on his personal possessions, a favor that Prakasham had returned by supporting the education later of his teacher's children. Tanguturi Prakasham then became the municipal chairman of Rajamandrivaram, currently Rajamandri, in 1904 when he was 31 years old. In his administration, he transformed Rajamahendravaram into a clean city. On insistence from fellow pleaders, Prakasham decided to become a barrister by studying in London. He made a promise to his mother that he would abstain from non-vegetarian food, smoking, and drinking. In England, he joined the Royal India Society and worked for the election of Dadabhai Nauroji to the House of Commons. Upon returning from London, he practiced law in Madras High Court and became a successful lawyer. Later in his life, all his earnings were put to use for causes of freedom struggle and in helping others in need. In 1930, the British had laid a tax on salt. As an essential commodity, this impacted everyone, and everyone was strongly opposed. Gandhiji led a march to Dundee to manufacture salt as a protest against government legislation. Prakasham donated 6 acres of his private land in Devarampalu, near Ongole, a kilometer away from the sea, for salt production. The column raised for this purposes still stands in Devarampalu. These are but a few contributions of Tanguturi Prakasham towards the freedom struggle. During the period to independence and post-independence, Prakasham held various positions and led a number of initiatives that contributed to the development of the region. He laid the foundation of the barrage in Vijayawada, where even when there was a lack of funds, a visionary he was. He was instrumental in establishing the Sri Venkateshwara University in Tirupati. Later, he held a number of positions, including as a revenue minister for the Madras province in 1937. He was in prison for Quit India movement between 1942 to 1945. He was the Prime Minister of the Madras Presidency in 1946 and the first Chief Minister of the newly formed Andhra Pradesh in 1954. Tanguturi Prakasham's contributions to the nations are to be remembered and cherished by generations to come. Thank you. Jai Hind.
தாயின் மணிக்கொடி பாரீர் அதை தாழ்ந்து பணிந்து புகழ்ந்திட வாரீர் தாயின் மணிக்கொடி பாரீர். These are few lines from Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiyar's poem in praise of Indian national flag. The flag represents a nation's core value and is a sign of pride and patriotism. Vanakkam, Namaskaram. I am Purnima Chandrasekhar, senior disciple of Srimati Usha Raghavan, Kalasagara, UK. In this edition of Our Country, Our Heroes, Our Pride, I'm happy to be talking about a Tamil hero, Kodi Katha Kumaran, as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Kodi Katha Kumaran, Kumaran, the flag savior. OKSR Kumaraswamy Mudaliyar was born on 4th October 1904 at Chinnimalai, a small town in Erode district of Tamil Nadu. His parents were Nachimuttu and Karupai, and their profession was weaving. Due to poverty, Kumaran had to drop out from school while he was in year 5. To support his family, he started doing business. He took woven saris to the merchants on a weekly basis, sold them and collected thread for the next week's weaving. He was married to Ramani Ammal when he was barely 19 years of age, and he continued to be employed in a spinning mill. Even at a young age, Kumaran had earned fame for his spirit of fighting for the right. Once, when he took the saris to sell, the merchant gave him less money than usual. When Kumaran asked what the reason was, he was told that the sari was of low quality. Kumaran, however, believed that he deserved more for his work. A man of self-respect and dignity, he never again took back the saris to the same merchant. The young and ignited Kumaran was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and his non-violence principle. He was influenced by the independence movement, which was happening across the country. He participated and led many demonstrations and patriotic activities. At a very young age, he founded an organization called Desabandhu Youth Association. He primarily targeted all the youth from the Tamil Nadu to participate in the demonstrations and protest for independence. The members of the DBYA fondly called Kumaran as Tirupur Kumaran. In 1932, when Gandhiji led a demonstration in Mumbai, the British decided to put him in jail. Hearing this news, there were riots and protests all over the country. As part of this, Tyagi P.S. Sundaram led a patriotic march in Tirupur. Kumaran participated by carrying out the national flag that was banned at that time. British forces clamped on the protesters and started lathi charging. Spirited Kumaran refused to leave the premises despite being beaten to pulp. Injured, he fell down, but continued to clutch the flag upright and ensured that the national pride was upheld. He succumbed to his injuries on January 11, 1932, at the age of 27. When he was found on the street, he was still clutching the Indian flag, preserving its dignity even in his death. Ever since, he has been hailed as Kodi Katha Kumaran for saving the honor of the flag. In order to commemorate whatever Kumaran had achieved, a memorial was erected in Kumaran Salai opposite the Tirupur railway station. His statue in Tirupur is used as a focal point for public demonstrations. A postal stamp was issued in October 2004 on his birth centenary. On the occasion of his 118th birth anniversary, on 4th October 2021, the government of Tamil Nadu renamed Sampath Nagar Main Road in Erode City as Tyagi Kumaran Road. As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the Tirupur railway station has been temporarily named as Tyagi Tirupur Kumaran railway station. Glory to Tirupur Kodikatta Kumaran. Vande Mataram. Jai Hind.